Right, so guys, this is number 1 from 2.1, and it says the data represents the time in minutes spent reading a political blog in a day. Construct a frequency distribution using 5 classes. In the table include the midpoints, relative frequencies, and cumulative frequencies. And then it says which class has the greatest frequency and which class has the least frequency. Okay, so the first thing we know is we're going to use 5 classes, right? Okay, so what I did here, guys, I just took a screenshot of my notes from 2.1. So number 1 says decide on the number of classes to include in the frequency distribution. It says the number of classes should be between 5 and 25, and they told us in our problem that we were going to have 5 classes. So for step 1, we know we're going to have 5 classes, right? Okay, let's go to step 2. It says we're going to find the class width as follows. We're going to determine the range of the data, right? So we want to find the range. So remember what the range is. The range is we're going to take the biggest number, the maximum, and we're going to subtract the smallest number, the minimum, right? So I'm going to come back over here, and it looks like the biggest number we have looks like it's 49, and the smallest number looks like it is 0, okay? So I'm going to go 49 minus 0. Well, that's 49, okay? And then it says we're going to divide the range by the number of classes. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to divide it by 5. So I'm going to take my calculator. We are Graph and Calc 83. Let me clear this out. 49 divided by 5. And okay, I need to convert this to a decimal. So I'm going to hit the math button, which is underneath the alpha, the green button. There's the math button. I'm going to hit that. And then I'm going to hit the second one, and that's going to convert it to a decimal for me, 9.8. Okay. So my range is, my class width was 9.8, and then it says round up. So we're always going to round up, guys. So I'm going to round up to 10, but I want to point something out. Because it says round up, even if I would have come up with 9.1, if I'm rounding up, I'm not rounding to the whole number, I'm rounding up to the next whole number, okay? So whether it's 9.8, whether it's 9.1, I'm going to round to 10. Okay, so my class width is 10. All right, so now that we know that our class width is 10, number 3 says, let's find the class limits. It says we can use the minimum data entry as the lower class limit of the first class, and then to find the remaining lower class limits, add the width to the lower limit of the preceding class. So let me explain what that means. I'm going to come over here. We said the lowest number we had was, I'm going to put a 0 right here. And then what I'm doing is I'm going to start adding 10 to that number. So 10, 20, 30, 40, okay? And so then my upper class limits are going to be, well, what's the number right before 10? 9. What's the number right before 20? 19, 29, 39, 49, okay? And if you notice, guys, one other thing, from here to here, the distance or the difference is also 10, right? Just like the difference here is 10, or we're adding 10 to each side, we're adding 10 over here also, right? Okay, now we're going to find the frequency. So let me see if I can make this a little bit neat. I'm not a very neat writer, but I'm going to try to be for you guys because I know we're not in person and I want this to be good for you all, okay? Frequency. So what we're doing now is we're going to count how many numbers do I have between 0 and 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are 6 numbers between 0 and 9. Okay. Now we're going to count how many numbers do we have between 10 and 19. So 1, 2. Oh, you know what? I think I missed one earlier. So let me come back here, guys. I want to do this the right way. Okay, because sometimes I miss one. How many numbers do I have between 0 and 9? Let's make sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Looks like we had 7 numbers between 0 and 9. Okay, my bad. Now, let's figure out how many numbers do we have between 10 and 19. So 1, 2, let's see, it looks like 3. 3 numbers between 10 and 19. Okay. How many numbers do I have between 20 and 29? So numbers in the 20s. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. How many numbers do I have in the 30s? In the 30s, we have 1, 2, 3, okay? And how many numbers do we have in the 40s? Looks like 2, okay? All right. So now that we have that, let's take a look at, let's see, do we have some info on midpoints? So let me come back to my notes. Notes right here. Here we go. So here, if you look right here, guys, I think you guys can still see this. Here is, and I'll take a screenshot to this one too. And we will come back over here and we'll write it in here. There we go. Okay. All right. So here's our midpoint. We're going to take the lower class limit. We're going to take the upper class limit. We're going to add them together and divide by 2. Okay. So my lower class limit is 0. My upper one is 9. So I'm going to take the average of those two. Okay. So if I take my calculator, 0 plus 9, still 9, divided by 2, 4.5, 4.5, right? That's what 4.5 is. So this here is going to be 4.5. Okay, between 10 and 19, I'm going to show you something, and I'll show you a shortcut after this. So 10 plus 19, 29, divided by 2, okay? 14.5 is 14.5, right? Okay, remember how we said the difference when we were going from here to here was 10, 10, 10, 10? Same thing here. Same thing is going to happen here for our midpoints. So this will be 24.5, 34.5, 44.5, okay? And now, let's see, relative frequency. So relative frequency says we're going to take the class size and we're going to divide it, or the class frequency, I'm sorry, and we're going to divide it by the sample size, okay? So what we're going to do here for relative frequency, we're going to be taking 7 divided by whatever the total was here, right? So let me clear this out. Oh, I don't remember how many numbers we had. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we had 20, right? So this is 7 over 20, 3 over 20, 5 over 20, 3 over 20 again, 2 over 20. Now the one thing we're going to do, we're going to convert each of those numbers to decimals. So 7 divided by 20, math, decimal, enter 0.35. Okay, so this is 0.35. This was 3 over 20. So I'll do the same thing here. 3 divided by 20, math, decimal, enter 0.15. Okay, 0.15. 5 over 20. 1/4, which is 0.25, right? 0.25. We already did 3 over 20, which was 0.15. 2 over 20 is 1/10, which is 0.10. Excuse me. Okay, now we have one last column that we got to do, which is the cumulative frequency, okay? So let's see. Cumulative frequency of a class is the sum of the frequencies of that class and all the previous classes. Okay, so let me explain what that means. So remember how this one here was 7? This is going to be 7. Now the way I'm going to, because that's the number that I have. Now the way I'm going to find this number is I'm going to add these two together. Well, 7 and 3 is 10. The way I'm going to find this one is I'm going to add that to it. Well, now that's 15. And I'm going to add this to it. Well, now that's 18. And now I'm going to add this to it. And now that's 20. Okay? So, excuse me, sorry about that. So we filled out our table. And then it says which class has the greatest frequency and which one has the least. So the greatest one is the class 0 to 9, and the least is the one 40 to 49, okay? So I hope this helps. Y'all got any questions, please let me know. But you guys are doing great, okay?